Today, we embark on a journey to explore the life of one of the most revered and spiritually powerful figures in Catholic history, Padre Pio, a man whose deep devotion, extraordinary experiences, and unwavering faith continue to inspire millions of believers worldwide. But who was Padre Pio really? Beyond the stigmata, the mystical gifts, and the miracles attributed to him, what drove this humble friar to dedicate his life to serving others and connecting with the divine in such a profound way? In this video, we will uncover the story of Padre Pio, his early life, the incredible signs of his spirituality, and the enduring legacy he left behind. So sit back, and let's dive into the incredible journey of Padre Pio, a man who lived through suffering but left the world with a message of hope, love, and faith. Born Francesco Forgione on May 25, 1887, in the small, picturesque village of Pietrelcina, Italy, Padre Pio's early life was one of simplicity, faith, and devotion. The son of peasant farmers, his family lived humbly, deeply embedded in the rhythms of Catholicism. The day Francesco was born, his parents gave thanks to God for their son, and from that moment, his life was destined for something greater. From a very young age, Francesco showed signs of a deep spiritual connection. At the age of 5, he began to feel a strong sense of calling, a feeling that would guide his life in ways he could never have imagined. It was said that he would often spend hours in prayer, even at such a young age, and it became clear to those around him that he was destined for the religious life. At the age of 15, Francesco made a decision that would change his life forever. He entered the Capuchin order, following the footsteps of his deep spiritual calling. He adopted the name Pio in honor of Pope Pius I, a reflection of his desire to live a life of prayer and sacrifice. The journey was not easy. He struggled with health issues, bouts of doubt and isolation, but he remained committed to his vow, trusting that God had a plan for him. Life in the monastery was demanding. Francesco, now Brother Pio, faced not only the physical challenges of monastic life, but also the internal battle of self-doubt. Yet, through every hardship, he grew in faith and devotion. In 1910, he was ordained as a priest, a moment of triumph for him, marking the beginning of his true mission. He would soon discover, though, that his path would be filled with spiritual and physical tests unlike any other. Francesco's deep spirituality was evident to everyone around him. His connection with God was not just intellectual, it was visceral. The villagers began to see something extraordinary in him, a man who was more than just a priest, but someone touched by a divine presence, someone who would become an instrument of God's love and healing in the world. In 1918, something extraordinary occurred in the life of Padre Pio. After years of spiritual devotion, prayer, and penance, he began to experience a mystical phenomenon that would forever change him: the stigmata, the visible wounds of Christ. His hands, feet, and side began to bleed, mirroring the wounds that Jesus Christ bore during his crucifixion. The stigmata, a rare and mysterious occurrence, was not something Padre Pio sought. In fact, he initially feared it. These wounds were not superficial. They were real, painful, and enduring. For many, the sight of someone bearing such marks of Christ was a powerful testament to their holiness. But for Padre Pio, it was a burden that brought him immense suffering. Over time, these wounds became more profound. Padre Pio's stigmata were not just marks of physical pain. They were a spiritual calling, a way for him to share in the suffering of Christ. He bore them in silence, often in agony, but also with deep love and devotion. The wounds would appear and disappear, sometimes bleeding profusely and other times seemingly healed. But they were always there, a constant reminder of his connection to Jesus' own suffering. However, Padre Pio's experience with the stigmata wasn't just about pain. It was about the power of prayer and the depth of his spiritual connection. He continued to minister to countless souls, hearing confessions and offering guidance, despite the physical toll the wounds took on him. For many of those who visited him, the sight of Padre Pio's suffering brought a profound sense of peace, as though his pain was a powerful bridge to the divine. The Church, however, was skeptical. In 1920, the Vatican began an investigation into the authenticity of the stigmata. They questioned whether the wounds were self-inflicted or a result of psychological stress. Despite the controversy and the sanctions that were temporarily placed on him, Padre Pio's reputation continued to grow, and so did the number of people who came to him for healing and prayer, though many doubted. There was no question in the hearts of those who experienced Padre Pio's holiness firsthand. They saw beyond the stigmata to a man whose life was dedicated to serving God and humanity. The wounds, though painful, were seen as a symbol of his profound love for Christ and his willingness to bear the weight of the world's sins. The stigmata were not just a physical suffering. They were a sign that Padre Pio was truly walking in the footsteps of Christ, a man who bore the wounds of Jesus not for himself, but for the salvation of others, offering his pain as a sacrifice for the healing of souls. Padre Pio's spirituality went beyond what the world could comprehend. He was not only known for his stigmata, but for the extraordinary mystical gift he received, gifts that set him apart as one of the most spiritually advanced figures in modern Catholicism. One of his most renowned gifts was his ability to read souls. People came to Padre Pio from all corners of the world, not just for his prayers, but because they believed he could see into the depths of their hearts. It wasn't unusual for him to know their sins, their struggles, and their secrets, sometimes before they even spoke. He would often guide them toward confession, urging them to seek God's forgiveness and healing. This mystical gift earned him both reverence and skepticism. Yet, for those who experienced it firsthand, there was no question Padre Pio's connection with God was beyond earthly understanding. Beyond his spiritual insight, Padre Pio was also said to possess the ability to levitate during moments of intense prayer. There were numerous accounts from witnesses who saw him rise off the ground, completely immersed in prayer. His body, like his soul, seemed to transcend the boundaries of the physical world. Padre Pio's mystical abilities didn't stop there. He was also believed to have experienced bilocation, the extraordinary phenomenon of being in two places at once. Stories about him appearing in distant locations to offer guidance or prayers to those in need, all while remaining in San Giovanni, Rotondo. These extraordinary experiences only fueled the belief that Padre Pio was not bound by the limitations of the human body, but rather was an instrument of divine will. Perhaps the most profound aspect of Padre Pio's spirituality was his unwavering commitment to prayer. His life was defined by hours spent in confessional, offering healing to those seeking spiritual solace. He often said, "The best way to prepare for death is to live well." It was through this deep, continuous prayer and penance that he aligned the soul with God's will. Padre Pio's mysticism was not for personal glory. His gifts were never about drawing attention to himself, but rather about drawing people closer to God. Through his prayers, his suffering, his extraordinary gifts, he became a living testament to the power of faith, proving that, through divine grace, ordinary human beings could touch the divine. In his later years, Padre Pio found his home at the monastery of San Giovanni Rotondo, a place where his profound spirituality would continue to touch the lives of countless people. But even as his fame grew, the years were not easy for him. Though revered by his followers, he was still burdened by physical illness and the weight of his spiritual mission. Padre Pio's health began to decline as he aged. His body, already worn by the stigmata and years of suffering, was further weakened by illness, but his devotion never wavered. He continued his daily duties, praying, hearing confessions, and offering spiritual guidance, even in the face of his own personal struggles. Despite his physical suffering, Padre Pio's spirit remained undiminished. His monastery became a spiritual haven for thousands of pilgrims who came from far and wide, seeking his guidance and healing. In response to their needs, Padre Pio built the Casa Sollievo della Sofferenza, a hospital dedicated to the care of the sick, a place that would stand as a symbol of his unrelenting compassion for those in need. The hospital became a beacon of hope for many, embodying Padre Pio's lifelong mission to alleviate suffering. Even as his own health deteriorated, Padre Pio gave everything he had to those who sought his help, offering both spiritual and physical healing. In his final years, Padre Pio faced more than just physical pain. He also experienced moments of deep spiritual struggle. Yet, in the midst of it all, he remained steadfast in his commitment to God's will. His life was a continuous testament to the power of prayer, suffering, and unwavering faith. Though Padre Pio's health declined, his mission did not stop. His legacy was solidified, not in the days of miracles, but in the years of quiet sacrifice and love that he offered to the world. On September 23, 1968, Padre Pio passed away, but his story did not end with his death. His influence only continued to grow. Despite the struggles and controversies he faced during his life, his legacy would eventually be recognized by the highest authorities of the Catholic Church. In 2002, more than 3 decades after his death, Padre Pio was officially canonized as a saint by Pope John Paul II. His canonization was a testament to his holiness, his unwavering faith, and the powerful impact he had on the lives of millions of people. Padre Pio's canonization wasn't just about recognizing a man's saintly life. It was about acknowledging the profound spiritual gifts he shared with the world, his stigmata, his mystical abilities, his dedication to prayer, and his selfless love for others. His sainthood was a celebration of everything he stood for: love, compassion, humility, and the power of prayer. Today, Padre Pio's legacy is more alive than ever. Millions of pilgrims continue to visit his shrine in San Giovanni, Rotondo, where his presence is felt in the peace and solace that fills the air. His teachings, his commitment to prayer, and his profound love for humanity continue to inspire people across the globe. His influence extends beyond the walls of his shrine. Padre Pio's teachings on suffering, faith, and the power of God's love continue to resonate in the hearts of those who seek guidance and healing. His legacy is not just in the miracles attributed to him, but in the millions of lives he touched with his compassion and faith. Padre Pio's life, filled with suffering and devotion, reminds us that holiness is not a matter of perfection, but a persistence in love and faith. And as we continue to remember him, his spirit of compassion, humility, and unwavering trust in God remains an inspiration for us all. Padre Pio's life was marked by profound suffering, extraordinary mystical gifts, and an unwavering commitment to God. His journey, one of both physical pain and spiritual elevation, teaches us that even in our darkest moments, there is light to be found through faith, prayer, and love. His message is timeless, that holiness is not about perfection, but about love and persistence. It's about offering our struggles to God, trusting in his plan, and becoming instruments of his love to those around us. Though Padre Pio passed from this world, his legacy continues to live on in the hearts of millions. He showed us that through devotion, sacrifice, and a deep connection with God, we can endure anything and transform the world around us with compassion and faith. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the life of Padre Pio. May his story inspire you to find strength in prayer, to face life's challenges with unwavering faith, and to spread love wherever you go. If you were moved by his story, don't forget to like this video, share it with others, and leave